ass from here.
I finish you.
Yeah. With Armin Sarukian weighing in as the backup, is he getting back in the good graces with you and the...
Well, it's not about getting back in the good graces. It's about, you know, the guy had the opportunity to fight for a title and didn't make weight. It's just, I mean, you couldn't fuck up anything worse than that. But he proved, you know, now that he's not fighting for the title and he was here as a backup fighter, he made weight. So it's definitely a step in the right direction.
What a night. Oh.
A GOAT trajectory we have in our hands, ladies and gentlemen.
You said something to me and I want you to say it. I want to ruin it. Ilia has done what now?
I mean, he just was legend after legend. I mean, the greatest three-fight run in MMA history. I guarantee you, if you're an MMA fan, he's slept your favorite fighter. It's just a fact.
The highly anticipated battle between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira is finally over, and here are the pros' reactions.
Jab to the body, jab up top. Oh, that's it. Inside of 3 minutes, bitches. Inside of 3 minutes. Inside of 3 fucking minutes. He fucking called it. He fucking called it. Inside of 3 fucking minutes. Keep doubting this fucking guy now.
Good shot to the body. I think Ilia's gonna finish him.
Oh, he slumps him. He slumps him. Oh my God, he's dead. Put him out cold. Ilia wins. New lightweight champion. Oh my God, slumped him out cold. Nasty combination. Oh my God. Charles looks like return the slab.
Topuria goes to the body with the left. Oh, nasty right. Charles is down. He's out. He's cold. He's dead. He's flatlined. He's flatlined. He's flatlined. He is knocked out. Remember Gregory Rodriguez's knockout? Well, Ilia Topuria just sent Charles Oliveira to another planet. Charles Oliveira is sleeping.
Jab to the body from Ilia. Jab upstairs. The jabs. Oh! Oh!
He slipped on himself cold! He slipped him out cold in round 1! He slipped Oliveira in round 1! With a nasty 2-piece! Oh, f you, you cunt! Why are you so horrible? What a savage this guy is! Wow! First round TKO. As I said, I told you first round TKO. I told you first round. Easy work for Ilia Topuria. First round KO over Charles do Bronx.
Jab to the body, stiff jab up high. Oh, right in the left, and it's over! Topuria with the first round knockout and new champion! Woo! I called it, son. Lock City parlay hits, the 2-legger. They told me, no, Van's not good. Don't throw in Topuria. Yeah. Look at me.
Back to the center of the octagon. Oh. Jab for Ilia.
Oh! He just starched him! Charles Oliveira is completely out! He doesn't know where he is! Ilia Topuria in the first round! KO! This man is a monster! He sips the tea! He's a killer! This guy is fucking crazy!
Oh my God!
What? Oh my God!
155-pound champ, 145-pound champ,
God.
2-division champion, 17-0. Superstar!
Holy shit.
Shit. That's it. It's alive. He just killed him. Ladies and gentlemen, Ilia Topuria just puts out Charles Oliveira. Hey, we were correct on the prediction. What does that mean for us, for the shots?
Before the fight, the MMA community pros had a very different opinion on the matchup, with most predicting that there is no way Ilia Topuria could lose with the tremendous amount of striking skills he has. Ahead of the fight, Michael Bisping hadn't overlooked Oliveira's credentials. He had acknowledged that Charles remained one of the most thrilling and dangerous fighters in the division. However, Bisping had argued that it was precisely Oliveira's relentless forward pressure and all-action style that could end up leaving him vulnerable to getting caught, especially against a sharp and composed striker like Ilia Topuria.
Of course, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira is an exciting fighter, and he is one of the best in the division and one of the most exciting. But it's the exciting style that he has that would give me cause for concern if I was coaching Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. The way that he walks forward like a buzzsaw with reckless abandon, the not giving a damn attitude, it's beautiful to watch. It's very, very entertaining. Nobody will be booing when Charles Oliveira fights, okay? But it's that reckless style that might get him clipped. Charles Oliveira, as we know, he's got the most bonuses, most finishes, most
5 minutes later.
Right? The man's excitement personified, but he takes a lot of chances. Whereas Charles Oliveira, on the flip side, with the shooter box style, he's walking forward, the head's on a straight line, and he's just, the chin's a little up, he's throwing knees, he's throwing elbows, he's throwing everything but the kitchen sink, and we absolutely love it. But that's got him in trouble before, okay? Look at the fights he had, even with Michael Chandler.
Acknowledging Oliveira's elite skill set and dangerous finishing instincts, Bisping pointed out that the former champion remains a genuine threat. Still, the wear and tear from a long, grueling career could be a key factor in shaping the outcome, adding even more intrigue to an already compelling clash.
If Ilia Topuria is successful against Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira, which I would imagine that he's going to be a favourite coming into this one with the bookies. If Ilia Topuria beats him, Ilia versus Islam is the fight to make at some point. Let's just imagine that Ilia Topuria beats Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. That's not a given. We know Charles is amazing. We know he's dangerous. We know he's got the most submissions, the most bonuses. He's a dangerous, aggressive son of a... okay? And he's very technical as well. And he's a buzzsaw. He's going to walk forward, punches, knees, elbows, you name it. He'll lock on a submission quick as a flash, right? Super dangerous, okay? Beat Michael Chandler via decision. Before that, lost to Ahmed Sarukian. The man's about 36 years old. He's had a long career. He's had close to 50 fights. A lot of wear and tear on the body.
Meanwhile, leading into the fight, Dustin Poirier had taken a much clearer stance. He had seen Ilia Topuria as the likely victor in the matchup, suggesting that unless Charles Oliveira had managed to lock in a submission, the night could have turned into a difficult one for the former champion. Citing Topuria's surging momentum and versatile skill set, Poirier had confidently backed him to get the job done.
I
think Ilia, man. I think he's going to be way undersized against Charles. I just don't, unless Charles can sub him, maybe if he hurts him, but it's going to be tough, I think. Because Charles gets hit a lot, you know, and Ilia puts people away. I'm excited about it.
On the other hand, leading up to the fight, former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman had thrown his full support behind Ilia Topuria. Usman had pointed to Charles Oliveira's well-documented tendency to get hurt in fights, stressing that Topuria wasn't just a power puncher, he was a ruthless finisher.
Yo, Henry.
Woo! Tell that ain't fire kush.
Hey, 100%. This is exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. Yes, I do believe Ilia Topuria can win that fight. You see it. Charles Oliveira gets hurt in a lot of fights, and he gets dropped in a lot of fights. And so now you throw in a guy like Ilia that doesn't just hurt you, he will get you out of there, that mixes up the attack, goes to the body, goes to the head. I think Ilia is the favorite in that fight. Taking nothing away from Charles Oliveira. Charles is very, very dangerous, and Charles is very, very good. But I think Ilia is a favorite in that fight, and I think 100% he goes out there and he gets through Charles Oliveira. You 100%, he's next for that.
Ahead of the clash, Alexander Volkanovski had highlighted Ilia Topuria's knockout power, emphasizing that Topuria possessed the ability to stop anyone he stepped in the cage with. Volkanovski had also pointed to Topuria's intense focus and tunnel vision, calling them key traits that had made him such a dangerous force in this high-stakes matchup.
Ilia and Charles, Ilia has a chance to knock anyone out. You know, he's got solid hands and very, very dangerous, and he's very, he's got a very good focus. So even when things aren't going his way, he's still, you know, he's got like this tunnel vision of, I'm going to find this shot. And that's dangerous when you've got a guy like you. You're like jabbing him up, jabbing. He's missing shots. Some people usually start to like, oh, I better watch out. I better not throw shots until I know they're there. You know, start second guessing themselves. I don't know if I've seen that in Ilia. So when you've got someone that's that stoic through that process, you know, he could definitely find that shot. And if he does, he could put anyone even in the lightweight division out. So we'll see how Ilia goes if he's on the back foot. I think I've seen him a couple of times where he had to go on the back foot a little bit. He just doesn't have the same shots, you know, have his same strikes, or, you know, his game plan to find the shots just changes a little bit. And I think it throws him off a little bit. So I think earlier on, seeing that adjustment will be interesting, because I think Charles is going to come with, even though he's high, there would be opportunities for Ilia to land, but I feel like he maybe if Ilia's on the back foot, let's see how he goes there. That's going to be interesting.
Ahead of the bout, Khabib Nurmagomedov had also weighed in, delivering a concise yet confident assessment. The Dagestani legend had expressed his belief that Ilia Topuria's composure and well-rounded skill set would be enough to get the job done against the former champion, Charles Oliveira.
Why? It's not fair for 155 pounds.
Right,
but if he move up and he beat somebody like Charles Oliveira, of course.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what I think?
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley had offered a more conflicted take on the matchup. His heart had been pulling for Charles, but his head had recognized the very real threat Ilia Topuria brought to the table. For O'Malley, this had shaped up to be a stylistic clash destined to deliver fireworks, with both fighters capable of producing a highlight reel finish that fans wouldn't soon forget.
Man, that's one where your heart's telling you, you know, Charles, and your brain's telling you Ilia. It's just that one's a coin flip. Can't count Charles out. Ilia's on an absolute tear. You know, Charles does get hit, and Ilia cracks. That fight, I am very excited.
Who do you have in Topuria versus Oliveira?
I wanted to see Topuria versus Islam.
I know.
Those were
we all did.
Those are the two #1 pound for pound guys in the world. In my opinion, that was the fight to make, but they both wanted to move up. Heart says Charles, my brain says Ilia.
Before the bout, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson had made it clear that he would favor Ilia in the matchup. He had predicted that if Topuria had managed to hurt Oliveira, he wouldn't back off. Instead, he would take him down and press the advantage with ruthless intent.
This fight is going to happen. Charles Oliveira taking on Ilia Topuria. I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria. The reason why is because when Charles Oliveira, he has been dropped multiple times in his fights. And Ilia Topuria has been dropped, you know, a couple times in his fight when he fought Jay Herbert. The athlete who got back up and started taking it more to his opponent on the feet they both have, I should say. But I like how Ilia Topuria goes about when he does get dropped. He keeps on pressing the pace. He keeps on trying to knock out his opponent. So does Charles Oliveira. My knowledge says that if Ilia Topuria is able to hurt Charles Oliveira, he will put Charles Oliveira away. I don't think he's going to allow Charles Oliveira to get back to his feet and go again. If he does, he's very confident that he's going to be able to knock him out. So I'm very excited. If this fight does happen, I think it's going to take place in International Fight Week.
Meanwhile, leading into the bout, Michael Chandler had taken a more measured stance on the matchup, describing it as a tightly contested and evenly balanced showdown. Refusing to count either man out, Chandler had acknowledged the danger posed by Topuria's striking, while also giving Oliveira the edge as the more well-rounded fighter. He had pointed to Charles's lethal ground game as a potential game changer, something that could shift the tide of the fight at any moment.
Who do you think is going to win?
Man, it's tough. You don't bet against freaking Charles Oliveira because he's so dang good everywhere, and he's a really hard guy to beat. With that being said, Ilia Topuria's got some crazy power in his hands and crazy accurate strikes. So it'll be very interesting to see how that fight goes. You got to think that the striking department, it leans toward Ilia, but Charles is tough everywhere, man. Obviously fighting him twice, I know.
Before the bout, Paddy Pimblett had underscored Ilia Topuria's legitimate shot at defeating Charles Oliveira, pointing to Charles's well-known tendency to absorb big shots. However, Pimblett had been quick to balance his take, noting that if Oliveira had managed to bring the fight to the ground, his lethal submission game could very well have secured him the victory.
I think he might, to be honest. Charles is a bit chinny, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's had about 40 fights or something. He always gets punched, but that 10 pounds makes a big difference. And especially, like, Charles is like my height, Ilia's like down here when I stand up, you know what I mean? So it's gonna make a big difference. Like, Ilia might get a bit of a fright at how big Charles is when he stands opposite him. Fighters do that with me, who fight at lightweight.
Building on that sentiment before the fight, John McCarthy had shared his take, predicting that once the action was underway, Topuria would emerge as the clear favorite, and by a significant margin. McCarthy had seen the matchup tilting heavily in Topuria's favor the moment the cage door had closed.
Right now, and you take a look and, it's going to change. It's going to even out to a point. But it'll always be that, when that fight starts, Ilia Topuria is going to be the favorite.
Yeah.
And he's going to be the favorite by quite a bit. And I look at it and it's like, wow, where does the respect on Charles Oliveira go? Charles Oliveira can wrestle, because I don't care how much, you don't like Chandler or anything like that. You've got to admit he can wrestle. He's wrestled his whole career. Now then, ever since he's gotten to the UFC, he's kind of stopped with his offensive wrestling. But defensive wrestling, he's always been good with.
Leading into the fight, Renato Moicano had offered a more emotionally balanced perspective, while he had favored Ilia to win based on stylistic matchup and momentum. Moicano had openly admitted he would be rooting for Charles Oliveira.
I hope no,
Why?
I don't know, man. Last weekend I did a podcast with Charles Oliveira, and he's such a great guy, such a humble dude that makes you cheer for him,
Yeah.
Man, especially me from the Brazil. And one thing is American, when people say, hey, this guy comes from the favelas, he was really poor, but they don't know, they don't know. But me, that born in Brazil and then know what he's been through, and the guy's be such a cool dude, like respectful and humble, and he got everything from the scratch, and now he was a former champion, having the possibility to be a champion against a guy as Ilia. I just hope he wins.
Man, that's a tougher matchup that a lot of people think. They think Topuria gonna run through Charles, and you never can't Charles Oliveira out. I think he's very tough. Man, but Topuria is good, He's 145. It's going to be a tough fight for both fighters. I don't have an opinion on that. I was leaning more to Topuria, but today I just had a podcast with Charles on my Brazilian channel, and it's just very hard to not like the guy. The guy's, and that makes harder, to pick against him. So I'm going with Charles just because he's Brazilian.
Ahead of the showdown, Beneil Dariush also leaned in Topuria's direction, but had been quick to dismiss the notion that this would be a one-sided affair. He had acknowledged the reasons many were backing Ilia, yet had emphasized Oliveira's experience.
I think the fight's a lot closer. I understand why people are favoring Ilia, and I think if you had to ask me, I probably would favor him as well, but I don't think it's going to be like, oh, he's going to walk through Charles like everybody thinks. You cannot be a fan of his, but you can't say he's not a good grappler. So he's a good grappler. I feel like he's fought other good grapplers down, and he just shuts them down. So I think Ilia's grappling is very, very good. And if anything, it could be considered underrated.
Leading up to the clash, renowned coach Javier Mendez had made a bold declaration. He'd said he would bet $100,000 on Ilia. However, he had also admitted that emotionally, he'd have liked to see Charles Oliveira come out on top.
Ilia, power puncher, boxer, low stance, versus Charles Oliveira, who kind of stands in a high Muay Thai stance, marches forward with knees. If someone gave you $100,000 to bet on that fight, who would you bet?
Ilia.
By knockout?
I don't know, but I would if someone gave me $100,000 and but if you're asking me who I would want to win, I'll put Charles. I'll put my money on Charles.
Yeah, that's who you'd want.
Yeah, so that's who I'd want.
Yeah.
But if you'd give me 100 to make 100, if it's that type of even, like you get 100, you can make 100. I would put Ilia.
Yeah,
he feels he cannot be beaten.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, gosh,
Before the fight, Din Thomas had offered a blunt assessment of Charles Oliveira's chances, stating that 25 minutes inside the octagon would be a long time for someone like Charles to play it safe. Given Oliveira's naturally aggressive and often reckless style, Thomas had predicted that he would eventually rush in, and when he did, Ilia Topuria would catch him and score a knockout in the third round.
I think eventually 25 minutes is a long time for a guy like that who's made a career on being a little bit violent and reckless. It's a long time to be patient, and we saw him do that with Chandler. It was a long time for him to be patient, but I think it won't last long. I think that after the third round, Ilia will start to turn it on and eventually knock out Charles Oliveira.
Similarly, Lucas Tracy had weighed in on the matchup, spotlighting Ilia Topuria's sharp hands as a major factor in victory. He had claimed that Topuria's boxing skills were on an entirely different level. Confident in Ilia's striking superiority, Tracy had predicted that Topuria would dismantle Oliveira with little trouble, perhaps even more decisively than others had managed before him.
He's getting dropped. It's gonna happen. If Justin Gaethje, with his eyes closed, looking at the ground and then the ceiling on a second shot, is dropping Oliveira, Ilia Topuria is going to find this guy's chin. Ilia is gonna find it. Okay? Charles Oliveira against Dustin Poirier. We all know that was a great first round, just like this one. Okay? We all know it was a great first round. Dustin rocked him. That's even before he dropped him. He rocked him. And then he dropped him. He was piecing him up with the hands. I know Oliveira was doing great work with the clinch knees, and that was a competitive round, but Poirier landed like 55 significant strikes to Oliveira's head. At the end of the day, Ilia Topuria does have great wrestling. He does have the lighter man skill, and he does have the ability to pull something like this off. If he drops Charles Oliveira brutally, he will jump on him immediately and has a good chance to get the submission.
Before the bout, Bedtime MMA had shared his prediction regarding the pre-fight tensions, stating that Charles Oliveira would dominate the stare downs with calm composure. While he had anticipated that Topuria would bring the trash talk, Bedtime MMA had believed that Oliveira would remain collected and unshaken, sending a silent yet powerful message before a single punch had even been thrown.
I'm gonna say Charles Oliveira will absolutely mug Ilia Topuria in their stare down. I mean, he's gonna be looking down at this little super villain, Joker chin activated, just staring a hole through him, and Ilia's gonna be standing there probably yapping, trying to I'm gonna knock your head clean off your shoulders. Who's Joe? Who is Joe? I feel like Charles is just gonna be stoic and silent and completely mug Ilia in the stare down. I'm willing to bet on it. This is going on my bingo card. I'm gonna say we get a Charles Oliveira zesty clinch, bro. I think Charles Oliveira is going to whip out all reliable. He's going to activate a zesty clinch of Ilia Topuria up against the fence. He's going to be jitting his butt out a little bit. If you guys remember the Islam fight, or you remember the screenshot of Ian Gary doing that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think this is a very underrated lock of the night. We're gonna see a zesty clinch at some point from Charles Oliveira, okay?
Ahead of the matchup, John Anik had expressed his excitement to see what Charles Oliveira could bring to the table in a fight that many of Oliveira's contemporaries had viewed as tailor-made for Ilia Topuria. With the odds stacked against him, the bout had promised to deliver high drama and intrigue as the former champion prepared to defy expectations once again.
Dude, is Ilia Topuria getting the red corner? I mean, my goodness. Can we put some respect on the name Charles Oliveira? No, it's a fascinating fight. Yes, Justin Gaethje, who's the hardest man he's ever been hit by in all of his fights, and it's Charles Oliveira. And I'm just excited to see what Charles can do, because the betting line suggests that he's up against it. A lot of Charles's contemporaries are suggestive that this is a custom-made matchup for Ilia Topuria. He's taken on the most decorated finisher in UFC history and the man who reigns supreme atop this weight class. So fascinated to see it, and I think my biggest takeaway with Topuria is just the way guys like Kenny Florian talk about him in such superlative terms, and we'll see if he can live up to the hype. I'm excited to see him in a division.
Ahead of the fight, Josh Thompson had weighed in on the matchup, noting that Charles Oliveira had displayed confidence in both his striking and his ground game. However, Thompson had issued a warning that, like many before him, Oliveira might not fully grasp the kind of war he was stepping into until he had felt Ilia Topuria's power.
I want to see Charles fight. And did you hear the comments by Charles Oliveira? He's like, I've got more power than him. I'll knock him out.
We'll see.
I mean, I hope that's not the strategy, is to just stand and bang it out. But Charles, as of lately, has been very confident in his abilities, man. Not just on the feet, but obviously on the ground. But just, he's someone that, like I said, he has that Eddie Alvarez feel where he gets hurt and rocked a little bit. Almost like he didn't wake himself up in the back before they fought. I mean, he didn't warm up enough. He gets clipped a little bit, and it's like, okay, now I'm really in a fight. You hear fighters talk about that all the time. I don't really feel like I'm in a fight Not even when I get my hand wraps, not when I'm warming up, not until I get hit. Once I get hit, okay, it's on. I'm ready to go. And he makes you miss by just a small margin, whereas a lot of MMA guys, they try to make you miss by a lot. So what I mean by that is they're ducking their head way to the right or way to the left, or ducking their head way low. Yeah, they're pulling back real hard. He's not doing that. He's just covering real tight, stays everything right here, and his hands are always on his chin, you know, and he makes you miss, and then he goes ahead and he counters. He makes you miss and he counters. He's on point when it comes to the boxing. And there's been moments in not just my career, but I've seen the guys inside the AK gym when like they hurt their foot or their ankle or their knee and they had to work nothing but boxing. And to see them just evolve, like their stand-up got so much better during that time.
How did you see the fight, and what were your predictions? Who was your favorite fighter? We would love to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments section below, and subscribe for more content like this.